Hey folks, it's Frithgar here, how you doing? Welcome back to Under the Hill and our little working holiday that we've got going on here. We cut the grass in yesterday's episode, so today we need to turn the grass, and we have got this turner right here, the Vicon Fanex 604. That is the one that the farm comes with. And I'm just wondering whether I should use that one or use another one. But what I'm also thinking of doing is something that I've done myself a couple of times, and it does work really well. And what we do is we go out to the field with a rake or a hay turner, a hay bob, whichever you want to do, and you go and you collect up the outside round. And you do this before you start turning hay. So you do the mowing, and then you go on the outside round with a baler, and you gather up the outside round. Now, because of the way that we did the mowing, it should be the strips. We shouldn't need to use a rake. So what I'm hoping is we can jump into this here little matty, and we'll move it out the way because I don't want it in the way. Just going to put that one there. I'll tell you what, we don't actually want the front weight on this one or the other track that we're going to use. We used the Massey last time, so what I'd like to do this time is I'm just going to leave the front weight here. I think we don't actually need it for this. I'm going to leave that one there, and we're going to use the Valtra for this job. We've got a lovely little Valtra over here. I'm stuck. There we go. We've got this lovely little Valtra right here, so we're going to use this one for this particular job, and we're going to come out of the shed. And we're going to get our little round baler on. The only thing I don't think we've got is a wrapper. I'm pretty sure we don't have one. So we're going to need to go and get a wrapper. And we're going to bale up the outside round around the field. We might do 2 rounds around the outside of the field. And we'll bale them up. And then we can have like a couple bales of silage from those. And then once we've done that, then the rest of the field will get turned into hay. The plan was we're going to make this hay, and then we can buy some animals. We'll have a bit of silage, and we'll have a bit of hay as well. We'll get some pigs. We'll get some cows, about 20 cows, and we'll also get 30 to 40 sheep. We're not going to get any more than that just yet. We'll come back to... No, I can't remember which way I need to go. I think I need to go up this way. I think. Yes, I'm pretty certain we got this way. So yeah, 20, I'd say 30 or 40 sheep and about 20 cows would do us quite nicely. So it's something that we'll be able to make a little bit of income from, but we're not going to sort of need to do loads with. Now, the grass up here, on this bit, we don't actually need to do. It's what we want to do is about here, I think, we'll start. It's the stuff that under the trees. You go around the edge and you do the stuff under the trees. And what this does, all this is doing, is allowing us to remove this outside round, which is the bit that takes the longest to turn into hay. This is always the bit that takes the longest to make hay with, because it's shaded, and so it can take longer to dry out. Whereas the stuff out in the middle of the field is going to get a lot more sunshine on it, and so it'll dry out quicker. Now, not everybody does this, but these days with round bales and being able to make baled silage, I've known quite a number of farmers will do this. They'll take the outside 1, maybe 2 rounds, they'll go and mow the whole field, and they'll go straight out with a round baler, or even a square baler sometimes, and just pick up the outside couple of rounds on all of their fields. They go out there with a wrapper, and they'll wrap it all up, and that gets put, this very rarely is silage stored in undercover. It's taken back to the farm and it's stored wherever it's going to be stored, and then once that's done, then the rest of it is turned. They'll go out there with the turner and they'll go right round the whole field and they'll turn the whole lot. So I'm just going to do this bit along here because it's quite sort of rough here, and it'll save us accidentally spreading the grass out into the rest of the field. And I'm sort of thinking that we only want to do 1 round here. So we'll go over this way, and I'm going to take some of this round here. We went quite close to the tree here, so I'm going to put the thing down here like this. And I'm going to take a little bit of the grass that goes underneath this tree here. We're only going to need... It's just because this is such a small field, it's literally just going to be 1 bale out of here. And then we're not going to need to do any more. So we go up there, and then if we can, we'll do a little bit along the top side as well, but I don't think we can. There is our full bale. We don't need to do any more. That is it. That is the only bale that we need to do. So I'm going to turn that one off. And rather than leaving the bale up here, because I'm not going to do any more, I'm only doing that one round around the outside, I'm going to just fold the baler back up. Oh, it won't fold up because I've got a bale inside. So we'll just have to carry it like this. We're going to run this one back to the yard and we'll unload it there. And we might just put this as fresh grass in for the cows. We'll get the turning done and then we can see about possibly just having this bale as the fresh grass for the cows. They're not going to need any more than that. And we could even put this bale in. Oh, no, we've got that thing back there with the hay loft up in the top. We'll see if that works. I'm quite interested to see what that does and how it works and whether or not you can load it up with a bale or anything like that. So we'll have a look at that one in a minute. So let's just come across the road here and we can come up into the yard. So it's just going to be that one. And it's also going to save us having to go and buy a wrapper, which is going to make life a lot easier for us. So I got a tractor in the way there a minute. Let me just jump out and move this one here out of the way. And, oh, we got a loader over there as well. Didn't realise we had that. Yeah, once we've done this, then we can get that hay turner on. I think we'll take the... We'll stick with the voucher for today. We spent all day yesterday on the Massey, so we'll stick with the voucher for today. So we'll move this one over here. And... I'm going to back that one up and try and get it near this load point. Now, I have no idea how this thing works. I have no idea if this even does work. It might just be something left over from the previous version. Now, you can see at the top it's got broken train. There is... I'm assuming that he was toying with the idea of putting a train in here, because when you first start and you flick to your first machine, or your last machine, you do actually go to a point right there. So I'm assuming that he was looking at the idea of maybe putting a tree on the map, and then he decided against it, so there's like something left over from building of the map. It's not anything that is going to break the game in any way, as far as I can see. Right, so we put that one out there, and... Right, well, nothing's happened at the moment, so maybe we need to get a loader on. This is actually a loader tractor, so we can put a loader onto this one. We don't need to do anything else. So we'll put that one down, and we'll fold it up. I don't want to put the baler back in at the minute, because I want to get that turner out. I'm going to probably have to... Yeah, how are we going to do this? I think we'll put the baler up here for a minute, and then we can put the baler away afterwards. Now, is that other Massey? No, the Massey is not a loader tractor. Really sure how I'm going to do this. Let me spin this one round, and we'll leave this one right here on the edge for a minute. If I put that one right there, that'd be a good spot for that one. And then I don't know if we've got any other loader tools here. I think we may just have the bucket, in which case we'll just sort of we'll use the bucket, but we'll just kind of have to like nudge the bale along a little bit. Now, can I get into the loader without having to move that Massey? Gameplay I can, but, you know, technically I wasn't able to. We did have to get out, but just for gameplay it did actually work. Now, what are we got to do over here for this whole hayloft thing? I have no idea about this thing. It kind of looks like the game Hayloft, and it looks like they've incorporated some of the aspects of it into this. So whether we've got to put this in as loose... Maybe? I don't really know. I'm going to just move this one forward a bit and see if that does anything. That over to there. Nothing seems to have happened yet. Let me just jump out a minute and see if there's anything else. Right, so I'm going to bring that up there. And... Right, well, there's no door that can be opened there, and it doesn't seem to want to do anything there. If I come into this side... Then it seems to do something, and that's R2 automatic filling. Manual filling. Right, well, I'll leave it on that side. So it looks, maybe I need to get that bale. I need to push it inside the actual shed. So we'll try that a minute. I'm going to need to just go around the other side of that and see if we can get that bale. It's going to be interesting. Come around there. Just squeeze through. So if we can get hold of that bale there, and then I'm going to push it right into the actual shed itself, and I've got a great big front... I tell you what, I can use that front weight. I can use that in just a minute. So let me just pick this one up here out the way, and... It's getting... Because the bale has moved, and we don't have bale spike here, which is going to make our life a little bit more difficult. It's not the end of the world. We are still able to do this. So what I'm going to do is... Actually, I might not even need to worry about the front weight. It might not be in our way after all. So I can bring that one up to there. And then come round this way without hitting anything with our loader. Oop, I managed to hit something with the wheel of the tractor though. Very, very small, tight yard here. It's extremely difficult to move around. It doesn't help that I got a load of machinery that I'm being stubborn and not moving. Like that poor tractor that I just rammed there. But if I do this... There we go. There we go. Right. Lift that one up. Put that one in there. And then try and move it forward a bit. Let's see what this does. Now it's loaded. Something has gone in there. And I reckon... Okay, now we come in. And what do we got? Grass 0... Right, it does... Grass empty. Okay, I have no idea what the hay dryer thing is for. Because it's saying that the grass is empty. Maybe I got to bring it down this end. Animal dialogue there. Open it. Well, I can open this door. From there, I can open this door all the way up. Yeah, right. Do I need to drive in this side in order to do this? I wouldn't have thought I would need to drive in this side to do it. I would have thought that's just kind of a thing. You got the door there so you can kind of... you got something to like look at. I'm going to assume that hay thing doesn't actually do anything at the moment. I'm genuinely not sure because you got the hay dryer down that end, grass empty, to manual filling. It's on automatic filling now. Grass empty. Maybe I got to put loose grass. I don't know. I genuinely have no idea about that one. So we'll come back to that later date and see what we can find out about it. Right now, though, we need to get up to the top field and we need to do the turning. So we've got a turner here. And I did say that I wasn't keen on using this one. And I, in fact, wanted to buy the my favourite one, which is the... it's not the Deutz one, is it? Is it? I think it might actually be a Krone one. I think it's a Krone one that I really like using. I don't know if I don't think I can get that hay turner out of there without moving that. I'm going to move the muck spreader forward a little bit. Let's get rid of that one now. I just want to hitch into that muck spreader. We'll move it forward just the smallest amount. And if you have a look in the animals a minute, oh, no, I don't want to do that. There. So we do have 4,000 in there. Even though we've got no cows, we have put a little bit of grass in there. We'll go and we'll cut some grass later on. Right, I just want to move that one forward. I'm pretty sure somewhere we got a loader wagon. Where did I see a loader wagon? Maybe we haven't got one. Maybe the loader wagon is another thing that we don't have. Let's just check our machinery. We go into here, we go to garage, like this. Right, so yes. We got a pallet fork for the lever up at the top, and we've got a combine, a few other bits and pieces. We've got the mower, the rake, the baler. Right, we don't have a loader wagon for fresh grass, so it might be that we need a loader wagon to get that thing to work. At the moment, I really have no clue. So we'll just back this one up here like that, and I got that one on. Right, I can actually get that one out. So we're going to take this one up to the top field, and we're going to see how it works, because I don't really use this one. I've not really used it very much at all in any of my gameplay, mainly because I just really like the Krone one. I think the Krone one is absolutely brilliant. So we'll take this one up there, and we'll turn a little bit of the hay with this. We'll see what it's like, and maybe we'll just do the field with this one, rather than worrying about going and getting the other one. And then next time we do hay, or if we do hay again on this map, we could use the Krone one instead. Start right up this end, and we'll do this little strip here that we left. There we go. Unfold that one, and you should just be wide enough for 3 lots of grass here by the look of it. So we'll lower that one. I mean, yes, we are in the actual grass there. Just managed to squeeze in on that. It does 2 comfortably. You can just about reach 3 sometimes. I think I can quite reach 3 there, to be honest. There, I'm just now reaching 3, and I don't think... It doesn't really seem to fit very well on 3 width, so more like we're going to do 2 most of the time. Although it is, although I say that, it's sort of, it reaches it sometimes along that side there. And I think for the most part we're going to be sticking with 2 widths of the mower. I don't think it really matters, to be honest. It doesn't, you know, just as long as we can keep it all moving. And it does a reasonable job. We've got it's a fairly wide hay turner, this one. It's not like it's a really narrow one. I've turned many acres of grass using nothing but a hay bob. And the hay bob's about half this width. And then one place I worked, I did most of the hay that I've ever done. They had one hay bob, and then they had an old centipede, which is kind of like this, but it's a trailed one. And being trailed meant that when you came to the end of the field and you wanted to move on to the next field, you had to get out and you had to fold the thing up behind you, and sort of you pull out a whole load of levers, and then it would just fold up behind you, so you had the wheels facing directly backwards. And it did work really well, this centipede. It was absolutely brilliant. And you could get, the one we had was a 4-rotor configuration, but you could get 6-rotor centipedes, and I don't know if you could get bigger than a 6. But I know one person at least that had a 6-rotor centipede, and I could only ever just look at that thing and dream. But the 4-rotor centipede was definitely better than using the hay bob, because even though the hay bob's got only has 2 rotors, each rotor is bigger than the centipedes, but the centipede was probably about half as big again. So it was bigger. The only disadvantage is that the centipede was purely for turning. You couldn't actually row it up, like these turners are here. These are designed just for turning the hay, and then you've got to use a rake in order to row it up. Whereas the hay bob was kind of, it was everything that farming used to be about, I've always felt. The hay bob represented a huge amount of what farming used to be about, and doesn't really seem to be anymore. I mean, I don't know. I'm probably just sort of being a bit nostalgic here with this, but the hay bob, you stopped, and then you changed it. You changed the position of the gates on the back, and you changed the position of the springs on the. Well, you changed the position of the tines, and then it would row up. You would go through and you would row everything up into neat, tidy rows using your hay bob, and it was all done with the same machine. So turning and raking, all turning the grass and raking and rowing it all up, all done with the same machine. You didn't need to go spending extra money, and it was all done with just one machine. And, you know, so it was time saving. Well, I don't know about time saving. It was definitely cost saving. It saved you a lot of money because you didn't have to buy 2 machines. And it was, I don't know, it just seemed efficient. But now, a lot of farming these days seems to be on a much bigger scale. Everything is much, much bigger. It's rush, 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 get everything done. But it's generally all done on a vastly bigger scale. And small-scale farming is dying out. And we know that it's dying out, mainly because small-scale farming is just not as economically viable as big-scale farming. If you can't produce the crop for the low value that you can on a large-scale farm, and large-scale farming can afford the investment that it takes for the various sort of the scientific input as well. Like, you have a big arable farm, and they will all the big arable farms now, or I say all, most of the big arable farms now, they have computer-generated maps of the entire farm, and every machine, as it works on the farm, has got these computer-generated maps. So, like the fertilizer spreader is automatically adjusting the fertilizer for the different areas on the farm. And you're not even just, like, the small-scale farmer will say, well, that field out there could probably do with an extra bit of nitrogen, so we'll go and we'll put extra coat of nitrogen on it. That doesn't happen. You know, these great big fields, and the farmer goes out and puts nitrogen, and the fertilizer spreader is being automatically opened and closed at different areas on the field according to what the computer is saying how much nitrogen is needed. And the seed, like the thickness of the seed, how much seed is being spread at different points across the field. And it recording yields as well. You get these yield maps. It's not like, well, that's how much we had in that field and it's like this. Everything is done really, really accurately, and you know, there's a lot of science behind it, and this is absolutely wonderful. It means that they're able to really get the most out of the farm. But at the same time, I look at this and it just doesn't feel quite as personal as it used to. I don't know. There's something about it that just doesn't sort of... It's like you're becoming... It's almost like a disconnection from what you're doing. It's like becoming a computer-generated model that you're working through, and you know, sitting in the tractor and doing the work in the field is just kind of an incidental bit. It's not the real work anymore, as it used to be. The real work was, you know, out in the field. I realise that I am like way off on this. It's just kind of an impression I've gotten. I've been looking at a few machines working lately, and everything seems to be computerized, and I know this is like a strange thing for me to be saying, considering I make my living out of a computer, and I love computers. I absolutely love computers, and I love technology and the advancements in technology that we've got in the world, and there's all this really awesome, cool stuff that we've got. But at the same time, I don't know, it sort of, it seems a bit strange that even farming has become, I guess it's because, you know, I sort of grew up, my farming experiences have mostly been like hands-on, and I've never used GPS. I've never ever used a GPS system in a tractor, ever. I've worked on all kinds of farms, and I've never worked on a farm with GPS system. I've never worked on a farm where all these different things had become automated, and I'm looking at videos and I'm looking at descriptions and I'm seeing how it's done, and I think this is absolutely wonderful. This is amazing, but at the same time, I don't know, it's sort of, every time I see an automated tractor working in the field, and you know, with it all sort of being done, and the person's there but they don't have to do any steering or anything like that, oops, I didn't actually mean to try and start it, it kind of feels like you're becoming disconnected from farming, and you look at it and you can also almost hear the death knell sounding for the small scale farmer, because of the enormous cost that has got to go into all of the computer generation and stuff like that. It's becoming where when I grew up, you know, a farmer with 100 acres was able to make a good living. These days, 100, you'd struggle to make a good living from just farming on 100 acres. You'd need 5 times that to make a good living. And that's kind of the thing. So this small-scale farmer is sort of being backed out the door. And in part, it is down to this computerization of agriculture. Because if you're computerizing it, you're able to produce your grain. Say it costs, you know, I don't know what wheat sells for at the moment. I've no clue what wheat is selling for these days, but I'm going to just take a wild figure and say £90 a tonne for wheat. Now, this is probably 20 years ago prices and not prices now, so please don't laugh at me too hard. But if I said £90 a tonne for wheat, right, I'm going to have to go backwards around the field the first time, I think. I'll go like this. If I said £90 a tonne for wheat, and then, you know, a large-scale farmer is able to produce said wheat at, you know, including wages and all other costs associated, he's able to produce it at £75 a tonne. That is £15 a tonne for all the wheat that he's producing. Okay? So, now, say the large-scale farmer is able to produce... I don't know, say 5,000 tons of grain in the year. That's, you know, I appreciate that is a huge amount, and it is a very big scale farmer. But say he produced 5,000 tons of grain in a year, times his 15, that's quite a chunk of money that is his profit for the year. So we're just talking about an arable farmer. You've got an arable farmer with 100 acres, and he's getting 4 tons to the acre, so he gets a good yield, and maybe he gets 5 tons to the acre, but say 4 tons to the acre, and so he's got 100 acres, there's his 400 tons, and 15, if he's able to, he's not going to be able to produce it for the same amount as the big scale farmer. He can't do it. He cannot compete with that because he doesn't have the large scale mechanization. So his costs are higher. His costs are going to be rather than £75 a tonne and making £15 a tonne profit, his costs are going to be more like £85 a tonne. He's going to make £5 a tonne profit. So then you come out and you add all of that up, and you've got a farmer who is able to produce, at best, his 400 tonnes. I'm just going to drop that one down there, I think, and we'll go around and we'll do the outside round here. So he's got his 400 tonnes that he's produced, and he's able to make £5 a tonne doing this. So 5 times his 400, that's £2,000. £2,000 for him to live on for the entire year on his 100-acre farm. Can't be done. It just can't be done. You cannot live on £2,000 for an entire year, right? And that is where the small farmer is headed. It's because the costs are greater, and everybody is expecting. The food is getting cheaper, and the mechanization is making food cheaper, and that's not a bad thing, having the cheaper food. But it does mean that there's a whole sort of breed of farmer out there slowly being edged out the door because they simply cannot afford to continue on anymore. The costs associated with farming now on small scale are considerably higher than what they can do on the big scale, and this is kind of where it's all going. So yes, it is unfortunate, and it does sometimes it does feel quite sad, actually, that it's becoming we're witnessing the end of an era. But that being said, small farmers have many tricks up their sleeve, and it's only the small farmers that will continue doing things the way that they've done for the last 200 years. Admittedly, with tractors and stuff, but you get the idea. They're the ones that are going to struggle. They're the ones that are not going to be able to continue on. There are plenty of other farmers who have sort of thought, well, this approach that we've been using is no longer working. So what we're going to do is we're going to diversify. And this is a big thing in agriculture now, diversification. And a lot of farmers are diversifying, and they're trying all kinds of different things in order to be able to pay their bills and make ends meet and do all this. And some of these things that these farmers are doing is absolutely incredible. You get like the farm shops. Farm shops have sprung up all over the UK, and I imagine they've also sprung up all over the rest of the world as well. I've seen and heard of plenty of farm shops in Europe, and I'm fairly sure farm shops are becoming more and more popular in the States as well. Farmers markets and things like that, where a load of small farmers all team together, and then specializations. Small farmers are better equipped for specializing in niche markets, and that seems to be the key. If you want to survive as a small farmer, you've got to find a niche market. You've got to find something that nobody else really does. There's a bloke near us who has got some pear trees, and he has made pear cider for many, many, many years. And he one of his favourite tasks of the year. I mean, he's almost retired now, and so the younger generation is sort of taking over, and they're still making the pear cider. They make pear cider on this farm with their pear trees that they have had there for several hundred years. And this is his niche market. Nobody else, for 50 miles in any direction, as far as I know, makes pear cider, except for this guy. He makes pear cider, and it is absolutely, well, for those of you who like cider, I can't actually drink cider. It makes me feel extremely ill. It's those of you who like pear cider, it is apparently exquisite. It is apparently one of the most fabulous drinks that you will encounter if you enjoy that sort of drink. And that is his niche market, and he's doing really, really well out of it. The rest of his farm that he still runs, he runs barely making a profit on anything else on the farm. He told me this a little while ago. He said there's probably not much point in him doing anything else on his farm because it doesn't make any money. He literally does not make money on any of the rest of the farm. If he does it well, he will break even. And that's all he aims to do, is break even on his farm. That's the only thing he's trying to do, is break even. He said he doesn't make any money. He makes a very healthy living out of his pear cider, and that pays for all the rest of it. That is what pays for the rest of his farm. He said really his farm and the entire farm is just kind of a hobby, and it's somewhere to look at, and it's also something good for the tourists because he runs a bed and breakfast, and they have a small shop, and they've also now got a restaurant, and the tourists and everybody that turns up, they like to see this working farm. And he said really it's just a front, it's just something to sell the image of this working farm. He said in actual fact the farm doesn't do anything. It's, you know, they go through the motions, but it makes zero money whatsoever, and the best they ever, like I said, the best they hope for is to break even. But they make their pear cider, and they now have their farm restaurant and their little shop, and they make a fortune out of it, quite frankly. They do really, really well out of it. But it's got nothing to do, he said, really, he's saying that he's a farmer, and he's been a farmer all his life, but he said, really, these days, it's just a con. All he's trying to do is to get other people to believe he's a farmer, so they give him money. He said they won't give him as much money if they don't think that he's still a farmer. They'll think that he's a fraud or something, when in actual fact, by going through the motions of being a farmer and not making anything doing it, that, he told me, is where he thinks he's being the fraud. But it works, and so that's what he's going to keep doing, because he loves doing he loves the farming, and he also, a lot of what he does now, he tries to sort of go for a bit of self-sufficiency. But that seems to be the way of the small farmer. You've got to find a niche, and you've got to make that niche work, and then, you know, so small farming, when you first look at it, and I've sort of been thinking about this a lot over this last weekend. I've seen a couple of small farmers, and I've seen a couple of news articles, and it's just made me think about it quite a lot. So I thought I would share some of my thoughts with you, and it's quite astonishing. So yes, it's very... it's a bit of a wide windrow that we've got going down through there. We could do a little bit better than that, I think. So yes, it's quite sad that the small farmer is basically, they're on their way out, and small farmers are now having to become something different in order to maintain this facade of being a small farmer. And I mean, I don't really know what you would class as a small farmer. Some people's opinion of a small farmer is considerably different to other people's opinion of a small farmer. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever read the James Herriot books. James Herriot was a vet in northern England, and he wrote a series of books detailing his experiences as a vet. I find those books to be absolutely hilarious. They are brilliant. I strongly recommend that anybody who likes reading, read the James Herriot books. Just search up James Herriot. He started working as a vet before the Second World War, and he retired, I think it would have been in the 80s or something like that. But his books go through almost his entire career. They are absolutely hilarious. They are brilliant. They're very well written. He's sadly the author has passed away now, but they're absolutely wonderful. They're absolutely amazing books. But one of the things to note is that when he became a vet, it was just at the beginning of true farm mechanization. When he started, there were draft horses everywhere. Everybody used horses to do their farming with. And he's seen the end of farming with horses and tractors taking over. So he's seen like that first step of mechanization, which he said was very sad. It was a sad thing to witness. But also, another thing that he witnessed, and he doesn't talk about as much, but I certainly picked up on it. He does mention it a few times. Mostly he talks about this, like the end of the era of the farming with horses and how tractors took over and more mechanization has taken over. And, you know, we're sort of seeing the next stage of that mechanization with the computerization of agriculture. So, but what he also witnessed was he used to go and do veterinary work for people with small farms, and this was back in the days when a small farm then would have been 20 to 30 acres, right? Even less than that. Small farmers with 10 acres of land. They had 10 acres of land, a couple of milk cows and a few chickens, and they would have earned their entire living from that. Just a couple of cows and a few chickens. You can't do that anymore. That's gone. Those days are long gone. So, you know, it's quite amazing how all of these things have like evolved over several years. I mean, it's been a long time now, hasn't it? It's since the beginning of the Second World War. Well before the beginning of the Second World War. Horses still like the mainstay of agriculture, and then they went tractors turned up. And as the tractors started to turn up, and as things became more mechanized with the tractors, the smaller farmer who was making his living from 10 acres of land was being pushed out the door, because if you've got a tractor, you're able to do far more than you can do than the person who doesn't have the tractor. And so it kind of started to push those people out the door. And then it was literally adapt or die. And that is what's happening again now, where we're seeing the exact same thing happening again. Adapt or die with the farmers. It's literally you either grow bigger, you get more land, and you adapt to computerization of your farming methods, and so are able to make it cheaper and able to make your living off of the land that you've got because you're able to produce it cheaper. Or you've got to adapt in a different way, like the person I know who makes the pear cider and now has a farm restaurant as well. He's adapted and he's surviving, and he's going to survive. He's going to do well. He's doing very well out of it. So he has survived as well, and that seems to be the way with everything. So I don't know, I started off sort of feeling a little bit it is sad to see some of these things going and seeing some of these traditions going, like, you know, I'm not going to see very many farmers driving around their fields with a hay bob anymore, unless it is just a small holding that someone is doing to pretty much to play, really. It's just playtime. And I'd like a small holding one day, and if I've got a small holding and I've got like 2 or 3 acres of land, then you'll probably see videos of me using a hay bob and a small baler and all the small machinery like that, rather than the bigger machinery, because you're not really going to run a small holding of just a couple of acres with massive machinery. But it's literally going to be my diversification is not going to be, you know, I'm not going to be making a living out of just a couple of acres. I'll have a diversification in place, and that diversification would be all of you, or those of you who would be interested in watching the real life farming aspect of it, where I would basically do a vlog. It would be probably a daily vlog of my life running a small holding, so you would see the small machinery, and so I would have a reason to be using the small machinery and going through these motions. I wouldn't be making a profit out of it by doing that. I would be making my living by demonstrating to you this is how it is done. And that's kind of what it would, that's kind of what, I guess that's, you know, really, if we think about it hard enough, that's kind of what life is all about. You diversify, you adapt, and you overcome all these various issues, and you survive, and you grow stronger, and you keep growing stronger, and so on. So yeah, there is hope. There is hope for us yet. Now, I want to get another picture. I'm kind of thinking something like that, so you can see the rows behind me. You can see even the little bits of fluff, the seeds floating on the wind. So there we go. There is our screenshot for the day. You will have already seen that screenshot, by the way. I don't know why I ever bother talking to you about the screenshot, because every time I talk to you about it, it's kind of, well, you already know what the screenshot is going to be. Technically, you know about it before I do. I know that I'm the one that like makes the screenshot, so really, in practice, I know what the screenshot is going to be before you do. But when I'm talking about it in the video, at this point, right now, I don't know what the screenshot is, but at this point right now, while you're watching me, you already know what it was. So you're able to see into the future. I don't know, it's a very strange sensation sometimes, knowing, you know, talking about something that I've got no clue about, and at the same time talking to you about it, knowing that you already know about it, and it's a decision that I'm going to make in the future. That's the bizarre thing about it. It's not that I'm talking about something that has happened to somebody else. I'm talking about something that I'm going to do in the future, and I don't know what I'm going to do in the future yet. So I'm talking about something that I'm going to do that I'm currently unaware of the final decision, but I'm talking to a group of people who already know what I'm going to do in the future. And you know with certainty exactly, and you can describe in detail what I have already done in the future. And it's a strange sensation. If I dwell on it too much, my head starts to sort of swell and then would probably explode spontaneously because I've breached the space-time continuum or something along those lines. So I tend not to think about it too much. But anyway, we have done our raking, we have done our turning, and we've also baled up a bale, and we brought that one back as well. So our next job is to do the rest of the baling. We're going to bale up the hay, but we're not going to be doing it with round bales. We're going to be doing small bales. So our very next task is going to be going up to the village, to the village shop. It's just up to the shop. We're going to go up to the shop for our very next task, and we're going to be buying a small baler. But we're not going to be doing that today. We have run out of time for today. That is tomorrow's episode. We're going to get a small baler. I'm not going to be picking up very many of those bales by hand. I'm going to be picking them up with an auto-load trailer. So I will also get an auto-load trailer to go with our baler. That just goes without saying. I might put a few onto the auto-load trailer. But yeah, most of it's going to be picked up like that with auto-load. Auto-load is our friend. It's our wonderful, wonderful friend. So, if you've enjoyed the episode, then please head down below and give us a like. And if you really enjoyed it, then please tell your friends all about me. Get them to come and watch as well. That would be awesome. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. This is Frithgar. Goodbye, and see you later.